Well, we have a truly amazing guest today. Drummer Brian Tichy is here. The man has played with almost every big name musician and band: Ozzy Osbourne, Steven Tyler, Slash, Billy Idol, Foreigner, Whitesnake. The list goes on and on. And of course, his current gig with the Dead Daisies. They have a new album out, Radiance. Check out my interview with David Lowy if you haven't listened to that one already. We go into the album a little bit more in depth. We didn't have a lot of time on this one with Brian's, but we cover a lot of great stuff, including his solo project Ball, where he sang and played guitar, recording with Steven Tyler, his work ethic, and so much more. Stick around. Yeah, so thanks for doing my show. I thought that was really cool. You commented on my interview with David Lowy, and I was like, oh, wow. Well, like, I know your name, obviously. You've been in so many bands. I was like, that, and obviously I knew you from Dead Daisies, so I was like, I got to have you on the show.
Yeah. No, I happened to end up seeing that, and I thought it was well done. So yeah, put a little comment in there, and here we are.
Yeah, thank you so much. So yeah. Oh, you got your guitar.
Yeah. I just I sit here, and it's always here, so I can always pick it up and don't have to go make an extra errand to pick a guitar up.
Yeah, that was one thing I learned about you, is that you play guitar, and you sang in that band Ball. I can only find one song. It was a Trap Like a Rat. But that was cool. That was a really cool riff.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a long time ago. But it was, I don't know, late 90s, and I just wanted to see if I could get that going. I had written a lot of stuff and didn't have or know of a singer, and then I just, let's see what happens. Let's go for it. And that it ended up, man, this was like 98, 99, and I started playing around LA, and a friend of mine started a label in Japan, heard it, and it was demos. It was just the demos of a bunch of songs I did with at Gilby Clarke's place, and he was like producing, and recording it all. And they gave me a little record deal over there, and we put it out in '99. And then I got a little deal in the States at the end of that year, and did a record in 2000. Big full record deal. It was like, the real deal. But then toward the end of the year, we had mastered record. We started to talk artwork. And the label started falling apart. My A&R guy left, and all these records they were supposed to put out got canceled. And I sensed it coming, and I was like, okay. And it just it fizzled out. And I tried for a little bit after that, but then that was about it for the most part.
Can you put that out now, like on yourself, like just on Spotify or something?
Yeah, I'm sure I could, but I don't really want to.
Really? I want to hear it. It sounded cool.
Well, it was there's some good guitar riffs and decent stuff, but it was my first time ever trying to sing, ever. I think the only thing I had done before that was I did a cover of an Ace Frehley song on an Ace Frehley tribute record in like 97.
Rip It Out.
Yeah, and I went in one day and did the whole song in like 8 hours, mixed it, and just played everything and sang, and that was a great experience just to see if I could do it. And but listening back, it's like lyrically and my voice, I don't really want to hear it. So I still don't really want to hear my voice, but I would probably do a little bit of a better job all around if I was to do like some kind of solo record or whatever now. But over the past, that's a long time, 20 years or something. I've done a lot of songwriting for a buddy of mine who had a music company, songwriting company that he would hire people to write songs and get them in movies and commercials and TV shows and all that. And he had seen that band, came to me after the show and said, "Hey, I have a thing I'm starting up, and would you want to write some songs?" So through that, I ended up doing, I don't even know, 60, 70 songs over these years for him. And most of it's ended up in commercials, TV shows, and movies and stuff. And but that was cool, because it's like you have to write songs in a style of, in a vein of, but they're not, you don't want to write them where you're like, oh, I think that's like something I should keep, which has happened. But so it's a good challenge, and just a songwriting, just a work of just working your songwriting, And
so if you get something you really like, then you hang on to that one, write a different one for the movie.
Yeah. It wouldn't be specifically for like a movie. He would take the bulk of songs and then send them out to all his people. And then over the course of a year, you go, oh, cool, that was in Law and Order. That was in MTV Cribs. That was in this special. That was in 40-Year-Old Virgin, and you'd see things popping up and find out about it later. Because
Do you get like a percentage of that, or does he just play a flat rate?
you'd get, hey, I'll pay you this much here, and you get your songwriting, and but it's a work for hire, so he
Yeah.
owns it. So that's the whole thing is that my company owns it. We can do whatever we want with it, but I'm getting, I mean, seriously, it's probably 20 years later, those songs are still being used, and
Residual income. That's the
yeah,
dream.
yeah, and it's been, and sometimes things pop up. It's the point of telling you that was that, yeah, that's where I have to write the lyrics and sing, and
Yeah.
so it's a nice challenge, and it's good practice.
Would
But
you do a solo record? I would love to hear that, especially if you had a bunch of guests, like all, I mean, all these musicians, like have Gilby Clark sing and play guitar on a song. And
well, I think I'd start off just going, I'm going to do it because it makes sense. Yeah, if you have guests, then there's more attention. But I think if I was going to do it, I would just do it to say, this is what I do.
Mhm.
This is it. Guests are cool, and yeah, maybe somebody would do something somewhere on it. But in my head, I just think if I'm going to go for it, the easiest thing is to just do it all yourself.
Mm.
Yes, you won't get that. Oh, Brian Tichy solo record featuring blah 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 blah, and so cool. Then it's more noteworthy or whatever. But that wouldn't be my goal. Would to be getting attention because of like names and oh, I mean whatever, Schenker guitar solo and this guy on drums and this guy singing. Then it's like that's fine. Maybe somewhere in there it would happen. But I think I would just go for it on myself and just go, this is what it is. Yeah, here it is.
That's pretty cool too, though. Yeah, especially, I mean, because you've already gotten your name out there, and you've already proved that you can work with all these other people. So to do it all by yourself, that'd be a really big challenge.
Yeah, I think that's maybe even like you just said, just to okay, I have done a lot of stuff with that's what I do is play with hired to play with people notable bands or whatever. But yeah, so to flip it completely the other way and go, no, nobody's that's what that band Ball was. It was really that, just going at the time. I was just telling a friend or something. It was somehow I played with Ozzy in 2000 on the Ozfest, and that was
Sure.
awesome. It was just such an amazing experience, as has been playing with all those bands you grew up on and big artists and all. But playing with Ozzy was just really extra special. And but at the time I had that band going, and my mindset was so guitar, songwriter, band, singer guy. Like just that was where my mind was. And I had recorded the record, which was really essentially just recording the demos that were released in Japan. Maybe with a couple new songs, but just well, those were demos. I'm going to do it for real now, do it better. Which I don't even know if the versions were actually better. They were fine, but it wasn't like I did some major improvement.
Mm.
But anyways, it was I wasn't in drummer mode there. So then playing with Ozzy, of course, sit behind drums and I'm playing with Ozzy. I'm a drummer, but in my head I was like, my band, we have a deal. We just recorded the record. When I finish this tour, we're going to master it. So my mind was so when you get your own thing going, when it's your own songs, it's a different mindset. It's a different way, different side of your personality, I guess, in a way, So I was cool. It was awesome to play, but I was still like, yeah, I'm doing this. I'm playing drums because that's what I do. But I really have this other thing. I'm on guitar and singing, and I want to see that happen.
That's interesting. You're playing drums with Ozzy, and that's like, I think you said that's one of your career highlights, but at the same time, you're thinking more about your solo stuff. That was more important to you.
Well, in the big picture, yeah, just because drums, I don't know, like drums are that's the top of the top for me. That's what I do. But
Mm-hmm.
when you put all that time alone into writing, and you have no clue if anybody's going to like I know I can play drums. I know that was the natural thing for me to do as a kid. It came kind of easily. Of course I practiced a lot and played a ton, but it wasn't like I had to. It was fun. It made sense. Everything about drums made sense. And singing is not. That's a struggle. And writing lyrics and you go second guessing everything, and just that whole paranoia of standing in front of an audience and on a stage and or presenting your songs to people. This is my voice. These are my lyrics. That's that was brand new. Whereas drums, it's like, yeah, I've been playing drums since I was like 8 or 9 years old. The records, that's my comfort zone. This was not but I loved it and it started just because I always love guitar, and I just love you hit a riff, you play guitar, and you have a drummer and a bass player, and you're playing together. That side of the band is just massive. I absolutely love it, you know. And the singing thing wasn't. I love singers. I wish I could sing. I wish was one of those people that, some people are just gifted with good tone and just a good ear, and if they work on it, before you know it, they can be a badass singer and songwriter. And I love that. I love, but I think it's just like I love music but I think so drummers, yeah, and then guitar players. And I think right after that, it's just, I absolutely love guitar, vocalists, and just listening to how an amazing singer, delivers the goods. It befuddles me just, perplexed when I hear like, how do you just make that happen? Like you listen to a Bob Seger track. We all take Bob Seger for granted. But listen to his voice, you're like, it's so effortless and it's so spot on and it's so right and there's nothing wrong. And it's just, there's guys like that. You're just like, whoa, but I'm so far from that. So that creates a lot of paranoia, when you're starting out and doing it. So it was all a new thing,
But didn't you sing, did you not sing background vocals ever?
Yeah. That's, it's a background like vocal. It's just not the same. If that's great. You're enhancing a part of the song, with your vocals and stuff, but it's so not the same as in front of a band singing your lyrics and your melodies and with whatever your voice sounds like, and your voice, that's God, oh, my hands hurt, or I got calluses or whatever. Singers, that's the hardest thing, especially on tour. So I totally understand singers. I know going to do showcases for my band where my voice was, I oversang. I still don't know what I'm doing. I just know that I probably never built up my voice where you have that built-in strength, where it's just what you do. I was always kind of chasing it, and oh man, or you get a little sick on the road, you didn't sleep well. There's air conditioning, where all that stuff affects singers. And you look at a guy like Robert Plant, in the '70s, you're like, oh, Robert wasn't hitting all the high notes live, or he cracked. It's like, do you hear what this guy's doing? Do you hear what he developed into on Zeppelin 1, by the time he's 20, it's insanity. It's so insane to keep that up year after year, especially in the 70s, especially now you're the biggest band in the world. The pressure's on. Everybody expects you to be that thing from that recording every night. Nobody has any clue what it's like, to tour, travel, and have to throw that down every night. I think singing is the most difficult thing. So when you see guys do that live, there are some freaks out there that I'm just like, decades later, how are you still singing like that?
Yeah, and the guy that you worked with, I think, did you actually get to see him work when you played on the Steven Tyler record? Because that guy still sounds amazing years later, decades later.
Yeah, he's one that always comes to mind because I grew up in Aerosmith, and as a kid, I was like, I love that. I love the singer's voice. Sounds like a snake, and it's such a great character, and it's so effortless and just. He's a god. I mean, at the end of the day, he was put here to do that. That's it. That's why guys like that, they get passes. They get passes because they're really at a level. But did I work? I didn't work him in the studio. He watched me track the drums on the song "Feels So Good." He was there in the control room, which was that's a whole other story of just like.
Does that make you nervous?
Yeah, a little bit because I didn't know him. We had crossed paths, which he doesn't know. But the band Pride and Gloria, I was in the 90s with Zakk Wylde and James Lomenzo. It was Zach's band. We had opened for Aerosmith at Donington. We had done a run of shows opening for Aerosmith after that in that year. And so I was, I think I shook his hand once, Tyler's hand, but that was a long time ago. But I'm a huge fan. I know the deal, about Steven. He's originally a drummer, and he's particular in the studio.
That's right.
And Joey Kramer talking about the pressure in the studio with Steven, and that's where I say give him a pass, because I'm like, this guy, this is a person that. So the studio was great though. It ended up being great. It was the second take. The first take was cool. I was nervous because they were playing the track back and forth, like the demo to my take. Listening, it's like, oh man, he's not digging my feel. I was like, that's it. And then he gets on the talk back. He's like, yeah, you got another snare drum with some more ring to it. And I heard, you want a tighter snare with more pop ring. Went over, grabbed another one, cranked it up, put it in, do the second take. He and the producer, Marty Fredrickson, listened back a couple, and then Marty's like, yeah, come on in, man. And I went in the studio, the control room, and Tyler turned around and he just complimented me and said, it sounds great. You're this drummer, that, very, very nice. And I was like, that's a highlight right there. That's
Wow.
I at that those I don't know about anybody else, but you don't have to give me a dime. Just let me have that experience and be positive. That means so much more. That you always got to weigh out that kind of stuff. I really I'm on this planet when a guy like Steven Tyler is, and I actually get to work with him that in my lifetime, and yeah, that's heavy duty. It's worth that's people dream of that stuff. So that was great. And then after that, a few years later, I don't know, a couple of years later, he called my phone and asked me to play a Barbados tribute, a Barbados benefit with him and Joe Perry, with Robert DeLeo on bass from STP. And I was like, this is you just asked, just the thought of you asking me to do a show with you, which led us to being able to. The show was cool, but to get to rehearse with those guys the day before, that was another world. Like,
Damn.
I don't know about other people. I just know how I feel about it. I think it's pretty much the general consensus would be feeling as I feel. I go in there. All right, I've gotten to this place, so you have to I'm going to play drums. This is what I do. I learned how to play drums to Aerosmith records. The set list we had, was like 8, 10 songs, stuff that I learned how to play drums to, so there's no excuses. Just get on your drums and do what you do. And that's that. And which I did, and it was all good. But to be in a room with him and to see how he works and to watch him, just that one little day of my life, to be around him and on that level with nobody watching, just the band and us as the band and some of the crew guys, it was intense, and his ears are huge. So that's a story unto itself, but
Yeah.
he was very kind and very complimentary. And that is, once again, I didn't, you want to play? Yeah, of course I want to do this with you. I didn't ask for a dime. Like, if they ended up sending me like a check, thank you. It was like, awesome. I don't care. I'm just, that's just stuff that you don't know is ever going to happen in your life. When it happens, it's like massive.
Oh, so you didn't, like, when you were a kid, you didn't say like, one day I'm going to play with Steven Tyler and Ozzy. Like, you didn't have those kinds of like goals set out. You were just set out to be a drummer.
Well, I dreamed of it. Every record I put on, I pretend I'm the drummer in Kiss, I'm the drummer in Aerosmith, so I'm playing the live bootleg or Kiss Alive or Zeppelin, and I'm Van Halen, Rush. I'm pretending. I thought that was normal. Pretend you're the guy in the band. You have to throw down, and it's a really good form of practice. That kind of pressure is
Right.
fun. It's not even pressure as a kid. You're just having fun, but because you want to get better and so you're dreaming, and hopefully. So, but no, I wasn't like, no, that was all fantasy land. Those guys are gods. You're a little kid. So I never really thought of it like that. Even when I got in, I guess as you get older, I went to music college right out of high
Yeah.
school for like 3 solid years.
Berkeley, right?
And yeah, and you'd hear about people getting gigs. A couple of my friends got some gigs, and it was all like, you're just like, wow, you're going to a professional level now. Like, you're out of college and you're working. But nobody. What's funny? There's nobody that talks about that at Berkeley or at a music college. And nobody, at least when I was there, there's no classes, and there's nothing anybody can tell you to prepare you for situations in the real world. It's like every experience is completely different. There's similarities. Yes, this is an audition. These are things that's all basic stuff. Be prepared, keep your mouth shut, and kick ass. That's it. But how you feel, how you react to certain things that are said to you in a situation you've never been in, that's all like, you can't be taught that. But learning from just listening to other people's stories is good. If there was some kind of class where like it was just like, these are things that are, that people we all know that are successful have gone through to get where they are. I think that's a book I'd read. I think that's cool.
That's like my life. I feel like that's my life's work. I'm always fascinated because, you talk about playing and having these fantasies as a kid, but how many musicians have those fantasies and they never get to live it out? And you obviously have done so many amazing things, but when you mentioned the Berkeley, I heard one story that this is something that stood out to me. You saw the other drummers there, right? And you felt like you were not able to keep up with them. So you were like working, what was this thing? Like, you were working a landscaping job in the summer and you'd run home and play drums on your lunch break. Like, that's how much you practiced?
Yeah. Because when I got there, I was exposed to all kinds of new music and drummers from I think there was 3,000 students in Berkeley on top of the teachers that were awesome. So you're just constantly, wherever you go, Like I lived in the dorms. You come down the elevator, walk into the main lobby, go down some steps, and that's where all the mailboxes were. And it was called Drummer's Row because if you sat at the lowest level, there was another a level a couple 3 feet higher. So there was all these chairs lined up, and all the drummers that would come that maybe weren't living at the dorm and they lived in some apartments or whatever, they'd all wait for their next classes and or whatever's going on in school that day, and they'd all be lined up at Drummer's Row with they're just practicing on the floor, so they'd be on the lower level, and there's a second level where people walking by up there, and there's all the mailboxes, and they'd just be still. Every time you walk by, you got 10, 15, 20 drummers working on chops. How can, you know what I mean? You're just constantly constantly learning and picking up, and it's like awesome competition, because this dude knows this, or did you hear him play that? Yeah, it was overwhelming, but I ate it up because I was like, how can you not? I guess it can maybe be overwhelming to some people, but I was like, okay, I do this, and I grew up as a rock drummer, but I had friends, like my buddies were, he could do that, or I learned this from them. Even on guitar, it was endless. Yeah. So after doing that, I got home, I was like, Dave Weckl came into the clinic, and he was getting big with Chick Corea at the time, and we were all just like, he's insane. He's just, and so here we are. Like, I'm an 18-year-old kid. He's like 26 doing a clinic there, talking about how he practiced. You'd read interviews and stuff, and that was So when I go home in the summer, and I have a half-hour lunch break, and it was, I don't know, a 6-minute drive, and I would just boom, get my car, fly home, run down to the basement, play drums, 12:07 to 12:22, and then fly back to the job. It was like,
never heard of anything that's amazing. So you were putting a lot of hours into practicing. I mean, you must have an amazing work ethic.
Well, I don't know. I think right now I could tell you no. Since my 20s, I've been like, I need to practice more. That's a long time. I've been saying that. I don't practice enough, but I'm in a different place in life now. So
you don't have to, right?
Well, do I? Okay, if I was gonna play basic things I know, and yeah, okay, I can do that. But to feel better about yourself and to feel like you're getting better, which is always important, like everybody knows, every time you get one little step further, it gives you a little confidence, and that change. That's what, I don't know. That's a big part of life. Just feeling like you're moving forward and progressing. So every time I learn a little something on guitar, or my fingers feel loose, or my wrists feel good, good, and that's just positive, and it's going to make you react differently. But for me, it's just like improv. It's like I know how much better I could be, and I think it's just taking all your ideas in your head and whatever your ability is, and being able to like just flow through them effortlessly. That to me is like, that's just being free with your talent. That's which I watch other drummers do, and I'm blown away by. And then I go, well, if I just practice more, or I just constructed things a little better, like I had which I'm kind of an organized person for the most part, so it makes sense for me. But then I go, but there's this other side of reckless energy and proving to yourself that at the drop of a dime you can go for something and make it happen, especially on drums for me. I should be able to do that, but that doesn't mean it's going to come out the way I want to at all. But I did practice a lot, and but to answer your question, it's focused. It's not practicing, it's being are you focusing when you're practicing? Everybody can practice. Yeah, I'm sitting here with sticks and I'm working on rudiments. Are you just going through like a motion sort of thing, or are you really looking at like why? Because I teach a lot, like not a lot, but I teach. Somebody writes me, if I'm home, I'll do it. But I've taught a lot of lessons over the years. That kids, beginners, people, older, that it's get back into the drums, whatever. And I'm like, wow, I notice things quickly. I just notice like, and then I can tell when I'm talking to them or they're trying something new or trying to correct something or whatever. I could see right away. Some people, you could see that they're focused, and some people have built up, bad practice habits where I'm like, I can't help you if I'm not there. Like if you're alone in a room and you have to be able to, it's focus. And sometimes, you're going through the motion, warming up, but to actually go, why am I stumbling over this? Why does this sound herky jerky? Why isn't this comfortable? Okay. You're only going to get past that if you're really focused. This is like, I have the ability to do this stuff, but this thing's a little bit of a question mark. What is it? And I used to practice. I thought this was a good thing. I'd improv stuff I was working on. Improv. I got it. I'm doing it. And then I try and put in stuff and just flow. every time I made a mistake or did something that wasn't what I wanted to do or didn't come out or it was wrong, I'd stop and I'd start to try to make an exercise out of it, and I try and fix that,
Yeah.
So, that's how I teach. So I'm like, show somebody something and they have it, they have this, but they don't have that little thing. I'm like, forget all that. Let's get right to the root. What's going on here? What are your hands doing? What's the motion? What's the feel? You got that? Okay, now we got to get into that. What's the in? What's the out? Once you get that, give it to me slow, but give it to me really slow. You can do this slow. It's really just this and this, but now start linking it all together. And then you see them go, yeah, all right. And I'm like, but that's focused practice to me, But yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So I did put the time in, but I don't enough now. And then now I just go, well, have fun with what you can do and try to get better. But I don't have a schedule where I, I don't know. Maybe I'm sure people, they wake up and they got their 2 hours of practice.
Yeah.
Go do this
Okay.
and that. Come back 2 hours of practice, and it's like, my life doesn't go like that.
Gotcha.
So that's why, hence, if the more I have a guitar sitting around, the more I have stuff around where I look at it and it's in my face. Why not put 5 minutes in right now? Why not? Just like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I know you got to get going here. I did have one last question. I was really curious because you've worked with so many musicians. Who's the most interesting to have conversations with? Like, who do you have these like really deep, like amazing conversations where like, who's the smartest person that you've had conversations with that you've been on the road with?
Oh, there's a lot of people. Everybody's, I don't know who the smartest is. I have no idea. But
Just most interesting where where you just have really interesting conversations.
there's probably too many to mention.
Too many.
But I would say it's more just for me. I just look at my bosses that have started these bands, and you're the one when you wake up and say I want to tour. There's a lot of people employed. You're the one who wrote the hit song. You're the one, whether it's Billy Idol or Ozzy or Coverdale or Mick Jones from Foreigner.
Slash.
I mean, Slash. Yeah, it's like you go, I just, like Mick Jones, Foreigner. He's, it's just, that's his band. Those are the songs he wrote. And I just look at him. I'm like, wow, I was learning how to play drums to your records when I was a kid. But it's just inspiration. And wow, I'm just really impressed that you've gotten yourself to this place. It's amazing because it's not easy to do. I'm here because of you. I'm playing drums for you, and I think their experiences are on levels that most people don't. I mean, how many people can sit there and go, I put a record out with my band Whitesnake and it sold 8 million copies. That's an experience. Like, how did you deal with that pressure? How did that make you? What did that make you become down the road? And it's a lot of stress, it's a lot of pressure, it's a ton of fun, it's a lot of, but financially things are going on in your life you never saw before. It's like, that's all, man. That's why people, why aren't you the same band you were? Because we just went through shit that we had no clue how to react to. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Ask Jimmy Page how it was in the Yardbirds. Then ask him how it was by the end of Zeppelin 2. It's come on. It's not, life is not
Very different.
So I just try to learn from it, and they're all have. But I've been really fortunate to be around a lot of awesome musicians that have inspired not just me but tons of people, and I just try and kind of take some of that and retain it, and see how much advantage I could take of being around that talent and knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're with the Dead Daisies now. You're doing some shows. There's a new album, Radiance, coming out soon. So people should mark their calendars for that. And then I always end each episode with a charity. Is there one that you like to promote here at the end? Just give a quick shout out. I can put the link in the show notes if people have extra money.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I might say MusiCares.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. I promoted that.
Yeah, or I don't know the proper name, but I've seen it. I just it's pushing to keep music in schools, because that was normal when we grew up. That was just a normal thing. Pick an instrument, get in the school band, like that. Like music, all this other stuff. I know. Hey, why do we have to learn? Why are we learning whatever algebra or something? Well, the more you push yourself, the more you can. You go above what you may need. That makes you smarter. But man, music is, whether you're a musician or not, just music makes the world go around pretty much more than anything.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of music is math. I'm learning too. Like I had this one guy who was in a band and now he's a computer programmer, and he said, "Oh, it's all related." I'm like, "Okay, good point."
Yeah, oh, the people go, oh, drums, it shouldn't count. It shouldn't be numbers. It should be feel and all that. I'm like, yeah, but there are mathematical things that make sense, and
Yeah,
some basic stuff, and as is with a lot of stuff, but it's lots of things are lots of things combined. It's not just one
absolutely.
thing. They put things together and it becomes that. But yeah, so but I think that's important, to give, so like sports. Okay, cool. Sports everywhere. Why not music? Music can be completely creative and it's non-competitive. So that's a different that's a different part of your brain going on there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks so much. I know you got to get going, so I appreciate it, and I'll put all the links in the show notes.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right.
Good talking to you. Thanks for having me.
You too. Thanks so much, Brian. See
All
ya.
right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you again to Brian and his PR team. Again, my apologies for not going into the new Dead Daisies album more. I should have covered that at the top. But again, they do have a new album out. It's called Radiance. Check that out. And again, check out my interview with David Lowy. I've also interviewed Doug and Glenn on the show about a year ago. You can check out that one as well. Check the Dead Daisies website. It's in the show notes, and that will have current tour dates. And you can also follow Brian on social media to keep up with him and all the crazy stuff he does. He's a busy man. He does other projects like the Bonzo Bash. That's a tribute show to John Bonham, and lots of other cool stuff. And if you want to keep up with my show, you can subscribe and or follow me on social media. And of course, your likes, shares, and comments on there go a very long way, and I'm eternally grateful for that. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day, and remember to shoot for the moon.